Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jeremy, founder of quickmail.io.
And this is Jack from salespread.com. How you doing?
I'm good. How about you, Jack?
I'm not good until I do my stupid elevator pitch. If you're going after a hard to reach prospect group or market and you're looking to generate a lead a day without doing all kinds of work or hiring or training, we can help with that. Head over to salespread.com/contact and schedule a free 15-minute brainstorm session and we'll talk outbound sales. Thanks.
This is
I'm feeling a lot
awesome.
better now.
Yeah, I mean, like, look at you. Like, you've been saying it like 3 or 4 times already, and this is
Yeah.
coming along quite nicely. And I have a confession to make. I didn't actually spend any second on working on my one-liner, so boo on me. And I've been playing too much with my own product at the moment, but definitely will try it again.
Yeah. I'm just over being the quiet guy at the dance who's just leaning against the back wall. I think there's an obligation to show people how you can make their day better, right? And I don't know. It also takes a lot of moxie just to come off on the beginning of the podcast and spill into a self-interested elevator pitch. But what the hell? It may make a couple people's day. So,
All right,
flourish of the hat.
Rock on. So, what are we going to talk about today?
Right. A different kind of application for that outbound email tool that's been sitting around. Maybe you need to, I don't know, dust it off and get your money's worth out of it. This is going to be probably a classic inbound application for doing outreach. And it should be pretty interesting to the B2B SaaS listeners, but also if you've already spent a lot of effort and resources building some sort of an internal list that you reach out to from time to time. We're going to talk about nudge campaigns.
Nudge campaigns. I really love you're coining a word here or a phrase or whatever. It's pretty cool. What is it? Tell us.
Yeah, well, okay. So we have a course, right? The Cold Email Outreach Masterclass. And today I was sending out kind of a cold email insider tips newsletter. And at the bottom, it had a link to our course. And a percentage of readers opened and then ended up clicking that course link, but not 100% of the clicks ended up purchasing. So I'm thinking this, Jeremy, and please come at this conversation, how you would apply this to QuickMail. I'm really curious if we can pull back the curtain on how we can use this to sell a SaaS product. I think that's a really fun application, but basically it's this. I would like to be alerted, or rather my team should be alerted on those select leads that were interested enough to check out the sales page but did not purchase. And what I want them to do is get added to a special campaign that's kind of like this nudge campaign where it's like, look, you may have questions about the course that weren't addressed, aka great feedback, so you can go back to that sales page. Or you may just want to nudge that lead, help them out, give them whatever they're looking for that has left them not taking action yet. So it would be great if a Zap would automatically add them to my outbound, let's say QuickMail, and would just alert my team like, hey, verify they're a good fit, maybe look up their company, what have you, and then maybe add some personalization, and then boom, off it goes, looking to get a conversation started with this very hot lead.
I like that. So basically the idea is that there are people on your list that are good target audience. You're thinking that there's no reason why they shouldn't buy. And so are you doing that in a point of view of learning more in order to make the offer better, or the point of view of like, hey, there's no real reason, you just need a little bit of nudge and let me give that nudge to you, like jumping on a call and answering any question you may have or hesitation you may have?
Yeah, so it's mostly about making more sales. But in order to make more sales, you need more data. So you're a big proponent of talking to customers.
Right.
So take a page out of your book and find out, like, I have had calls with people who didn't buy the course that were like, hey, I just didn't know what else was in there. Can you show me a table of contents? And obviously that's great learnings for refreshing the page, right? So question, have you done or have you seen this done in the SaaS world? And what do you, how would you use this?
Yes, and I'll show you. But that reminds me of one important thing that I think is very key here, and I think this is a really big mindset difference between outbound people and inbound people. Inbound people, most of the time, they will send an email, see who clicks, then tweak their email, see who clicks, and basically do some sort of like analyses based on the data, but they don't actually get the qualitative feedback that we talked about. And when you say, hey, let's jump on a call and let's figure out, and then people you say, yeah, you know what, I was just hesitating because I wasn't quite sure about X, then that's super important information. Then you change your your email and your messages, and then you get better feedback. So we can work with lower volume than needing like 1,000 clicks in order to figure out if people react to blue or green or for the button color.
It's very true. So there's like a mix. So let's pick on inbound marketers for a moment here. And you just mentioned like they're, I don't know, analyzing clicks as opposed to getting in front of these leads and having a conversation, right?
That's right.
But I can pick on outbound sales and marketers for a moment too, in that I think we're reaching out to too many people, or we're trying to reach too many people. There's a sweet spot. And this nudge campaign, I think, marries those two mentalities where it's like, okay, marketers can show, or marketing campaigns can show us who's the most interested. But I think it will take some outbound to close those people, meaning go ahead and reach out with something personal, not a typical newsletter that they've seen 10 times before. No, reach out with their first name, explain why you think this might be a good fit, and just call to action to start a conversation. And I think those two camps can do a really, I don't know, effective job at getting some more conversions going on. So we need both applications, both mindsets.
I love it. And it's funny, you're actually giving the example of you contacting your own list. We got plenty of users who actually use this technique with just purely outbound. A good example would be, here's a link to my demo. I use, for example, links in my signature. And now there is like a small link that says, here's why agency loves us. And then I record those links because, there are a lot of ways you can do it. But one of the cool way you can do it is basically wait a few days and then trigger as a Slack notification if people click, but they haven't replied yet. Because as soon as they reply, the campaign stop. But if they click on, for example, find out more about QuickMail, for example, if they click on it, but they did not actually reply to me, it seems to me that, okay, they may be interested and they want to know more, but maybe there is something preventing them from replying, whether they're busy, they've been carried out with their day, or it's not the right time and stuff like that. So what happened then is I have a simple Slack touch after 2-3 days that basically notify into our Slack channel that, hey, this person actually clicked on this link because I have a conditional touch. This person clicked on this link, on this very specific link. And then after that, I can follow it up. And you can effectively launch a Zap that will then automate your updating of your CRM. If you're using a CRM, I think this is probably the best way to do it. But you can effectively use the tool to implement exactly what you're saying, which is people notify one way or another that they may be in the game, but they are not quite ready to reply for XYZ reason. And you can change channel.
Sort of.
Sorry, I'm just jumping in to get my that's my last idea, but you can change channel then to go jump on a Facebook, jump on LinkedIn, based on Twitter, whatever they're active on, and just tell them like, hey, maybe email may not be the right channel. Just figure out, I'll jump here and then start a conversation there.
Yeah. Okay. So first thought is like, if somebody clicks, I would argue that email is a pretty good channel for them. And my question is, do you think a more aggressive salesperson might say, Jeremy, when I get a click, I'm going to pick up the phone and
that's right.
3 minutes or something,
Some
right?
do.
I mean, some do. Okay. But you're just saying, use that to trigger something that you can either take it to a different channel or give them more attention. I think that's what I like to see. This is like the 3% of your list just said they deserve a lot of your time right now, so that you don't have to go through your entire list and do this high touch thing, because that would just take too much time. You can't go through your whole market.
Jack,
so yeah.
Do you know Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street?
Yeah, actually, my wife met him in person.
No way.
He lives.
I
He
hope
lives
he
in
was
La Jolla.
before he was doing coke and crazy shit. Otherwise, you have to talk with your wife about the
He was
context.
at a fundraiser, a fundraiser for a preschool. So I think he's mellowed out.
Okay, fine. And basically, he's got his sales course, and he basically advocates for three things that people need to trust you, or to trust before they go and do a purchase with you. They need to trust your product is good. They need to trust the person selling the product, and they need to trust the company selling the product. Now, if you a fan of this type of approach and what is preaching, one of the impossible implementation is to put in your signature a link that addresses those three different concerns, like a LinkedIn profile that will be like, I want to check you out. Or this could be, check a demo for product. That will means I want to know more about your product. Or, here's an award for company. And so they will check, the company. And that way you can figure out like, okay, in my cold outreach copy, which of those concerns am I not addressing, or which one is actually the most interesting? What do you think of that?
I'm laughing because if you're a consultant, like I've been and am sort of, you're all three of those. You're the product, company, and person,
Well, maybe not so in your prospect mind. This is what is interesting. And actually, this reminds me that very often, especially small company, they confuse CEO and founder. They're actually not the same. They have like completely different perspective and fighting thing. One wants a return on investment. The other one wants...
No. I think if you're paying a consultant, you like the consultant, you trust the consultant, and it can be, it's a little bit of a different thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
So anyway, let me take myself out of that space. I'll be, what are you on, a CEO at the moment? Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like that was a tangent. Where are we?
Well, this is a fun thing. So we were talking about basically analyzing or getting some insight based on what people click on, and then trigger some automation to, either call them, but basically nudge them into whatever is missing for them to take that action. So maybe they don't want to initiate, maybe like, we got call to action that sometimes are high call to action, like, let's get on a phone and stuff like that, and may not have time. And, you and I have been doing a campaign recently, and one of our follow-up is just saying at some point, like maybe someone on your team will be more suited. So you give them like, you vary the call to action. And I think that's very similar based on the click they're doing. Maybe your follow-up will be different as well.
Good point. So I'd like your feedback here, but I'm thinking to wrap up the episode, or the second half of it should be, okay, what would it look like if we designed one for like an inbound list, and then if we designed one for an outbound list, and we can just maybe use a SaaS product or our course for the inbound, and then quick mail if you want for the other process here.
Quick mail day and night, man.
All right. So, all right, let's get process oriented for a moment. We've got an email tool that does like classic email marketing. Think MailChimp, right? We've just noticed that 3 people in the last hour have clicked the link to go find out more about this paid course that you are promoting. Talk to me with what Zapier and QuickMail could help me with, and if I wanted to set up a conversation with those 3 people. Like, what would the trigger be? Would you use a click, or would you use an engagement score? Like factoring out a couple things. Let's start there.
Yeah. So what do you want to do exactly? You're sending an email, and then how do you actually want to split what's going to happen next?
If you clicked more info on the course, I want you in this bucket?
So from a technical standpoint, I'll just do I'll just listen to clicks through Zaps, Zapier, for example, integration. It will listen to clicks. Then you will, when you will receive the click notification event, you will check this is the first click, or maybe you want to do it after 2 clicks. Maybe, you want to, make it
Red
harder,
hot, yeah.
right? Hotter list. And then once you got that, then you will have the action, which is the second leg of the Zap, because Zaps have like 2 legs. One is the event that happened, and the other leg is the, what you're gonna do. Then I will do adding that prospect into either a new bucket if you want to reuse the automation later on, or simply start a new campaign. And that new campaign could even start with waiting 2 days, or waiting 5 minutes, or waiting 1 day. It doesn't matter.
So for this example though, I'm thinking we definitely want to start a new campaign. It would say something like, hey Joe, I'd love to answer some questions you might have about the course. When are you free for a quick chat? Right.
Love it.
Is it as simple as that? I mean, should we think about sending that Zap to Slack and say, hey, team member, go ahead and check if they're a fit, maybe course stuff?
You could do, but I would basically start a new campaign, and the first step of that campaign will be a task. And the task for your team member, or actually the first step will be maybe a Slack notification that says, hey, a task is ready for you. And then the second step is a task. Then your team will go and then look at the to-dos and basically determine if that campaign should carry on or not. That's one way.
Okay, yeah, and I'm a fan of not overcomplicating straightforward things. So it's basically, if a prospect clicks a link, it generates a task in QuickMail that says, verify this person didn't purchase it already. That would be weird, right? And you can do that by linking it to your course tool or something, I'm sure.
Well, that's a good point. The other thing you can do about this is basically using tags. So one of the things that I will do is that if someone buys in my course, for example, if you're Teachable, for example, or something that has Zapier supported, you will say, if someone buy, that's one leg of the Zap of Zapier. Then the second leg will be action in QuickMail to tag that prospect or any other tool you're using. But I will tag that prospect. And once that's prospect, I see you're hesitating. Let me just finish.
It's a little bit much. It's a little much. I'm sorry.
It could be. It could be. But if you want to minimize the number of human interaction, this is like a sort of bulletproof thing.
Totally.
So they will buy. That will set one tag, and on the campaign that starts automatically when they click. The first step is conditional based on this tag being not set, and that's it. Yeah. So you don't have your team to even check.
I think you're spot on. If you want a real robust process that has minimal human interaction, you have to do this.
Right.
But maybe the first iteration, keep it with a basic human touch. Check them out manually. Did they buy? No. Okay, 100%. Add them, then you're good. And then if you see this process working, by all means, get technical and automate a lot more of it. I think that's a really good guideline. In terms of...
Sorry, I have a question for you then, Jack.
Yeah.
Let's say in your email, you have, more info, click here, for example. And then question to you, would you actually keep on having a signature and having links in your signature? Let's say, for example, check out how cool I look on my snowmobile, for example, as a personal thing, or, check out, super cool company or award or stuff like that. How would you react? Would you actually care at all that people click on those links, or would
Are
actually
we talking
come in
about
equation?
The QuickMail signature or my classic email marketing thing? Which signature?
Well, the signature you add on every email you send through QuickMail or whatever when you're contacting your prospects.
Right. You mean, would I do anything with that click, or as a recipient, would I care to see that?
If, for example, as a recipient, I'm clicking on how cool you look on a snowmobile, but I didn't click on more info, would you actually want a different things? Or if I click on both links?
Great point.
Would you care?
I would say I'm less interested in people. Okay, so perfect example, the email that I'm actually talking about in this specific example, the first link was like to a how-to article that I published.
Okay.
If you click that, it's not, I don't really care about this kind of follow-up.
That's what I thought.
Because this kind of follow-up is just to nudge those course maybes and just get a definitive yes or no, or maybe some good feedback, right?
Okay, so you would basically have your Zapier click checking also what link you're actually clicking on. Because you may have like 6, 7 clicks into your emails. You only want to laser focus on one. And it could well be, and this is an interesting thing that I wanted to hint toward, is that if they click on, how cool you look on your snowmobile, for example, they may be interested in yourself. And that way you can effectively tag them into QuickMail or again, whatever software you're using, which will make them available to potential more personal type of campaign, like, get them engaged more with you so they get to know you more. Yeah. They may be like the type of relationship type of people, right? That come closer.
That's interesting.
So say like, check me out, on the wave on the Miami,
or
stuff like
I
that.
think what you're saying is like, if you had a link to your Instagram or something.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right?
Yeah.
They may be more receptive to finding out more about yourself.
That's right.
Now, I'll be honest, that's a really niche outreach kind of campaign.
Yeah,
where
maybe
you
it's too
segment
much.
that deep. But then again, I'm not an Instagram influencer getting all kinds of clicks. Maybe it would make sense to separate people. I think what we need to
I'm thinking just inviting them to a special Instagram group. Right? In which you can nurture them. But I mean, obviously we're not on Instagram and we don't quite see how Instagram could work, but it could be also Facebook or whatever, but you may actually invite them into a special type of group.
That's a good point.
Right?
Yeah.
Because they may become your evangelist or like, very close, liking you very much. And so, just means drawn to you.
Yeah. And I think the takeaway here is just look at what your subscribers are doing or your prospects are doing and act accordingly so that they get a more relevant message at the right time. That's kind of
that's a good
wrap
point.
This whole thing in one little snippet here. Okay, so should we move on to what you would do with like classic outbound?
Yeah. One last remark. Isn't that what we're all discussing about the holy grail of marketing, like segmenting?
Yeah.
To some extent.
No, actually, the more I think about it, that's all we're doing really. And I'm coming at it from how to be a more effective salesperson. I don't want to smile and dial for 8 hours. I think that's an unfortunate waste of brain power. And so, yeah, you can think of it that way, or you can think, okay, segment better. And what are you left with? And that should give you this holy grail of marketing. I think you're spot on.
Okay, so let's move on to the next stage.
Okay, so here we are. Want to give us like a use case with QuickMail?
Ooh, in what sense?
Well, we're going to use triggers to add people to a secondary campaign,
right?
A nudge campaign. I'm just curious, as a SaaS founder, do you have an application in mind that you could use this nudge campaign on?
I'm not following. I'm using just QuickMail, Jack. QuickMail and Zapier actually gets you everything.
I'm telling you, as put on your marketing hat for a moment,
right.
Or your sales hat. How would you go to Zapier and set up one of these kinds of campaigns? What actions would you want for this outbound campaign, maybe that we're running together? Like, what can we do to put this in place so that we give a few prospects a lot of our time and a lot of our follow-up?
Okay. So tell me if I repeat myself, because maybe I don't quite understand. But basically, you'll need QuickMail or any other tool you're using, of course, plus Zapier. And your Zapier account will only listen to trigger that happened, whether someone click on an email, whether someone open, reply, unsubscribe, all those things doesn't matter to me. What's important to me is clicks in this specific scenario.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So I will listen to clicks, potentially filter it. Like I may only be interested in links that start with course.quickmail.io because that's where our course
or
is.
schedule, or like your calendar link, maybe.
Your calendar link is a bit different because if people, actually, in case of they do the calendar link, but they don't actually book the time.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, I love this one.
Right.
This one is awesome, actually. So yeah, I will look at, does it start with calendly.com or whatever is your calendar, application. So that would be one leg of the Zap. And then the second leg would be to start a campaign in QuickMail. And then you'll take the parameter about like whoever clicked. So maybe that's Jack, you get the email. And then I add you into a new campaign that I have, like a nudge campaign where I will.
Yeah. And it would say, it might say, hey, Jack, did any of those times fit? If not, just, recommend me some.
Love
and
it.
I'll set it up. Right.
Freaking love it.
Is that too creepy though? Is that too creepy?
No, because you will add some time in between. So what I would personally do is I will stop my campaign, right? So you can, in your Zap, you can say, when this happen, which is a click, then do this. And the do this can actually do multiple things. You can stop the campaign. So maybe you have your first campaign, so you can stop it and then start a nudge campaign instead. And the nudge campaign, you can start it, 4 hours after, right? It could start, the campaign can actually start with a wait step, which means wait 4 hours before actually sending this email. So, or wait 1 day. And I think it's just like you're hijacking the previous wait on the previous campaign to put it on the second one. So it all works fine in the end. As a recipient, you receive the email, you'll click on it time, you say, blah, 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 life happens, you get derailed. And then suddenly 1 day or 2 days later, you got an email that say, hey, if none of those time works, feel free to, give me some time that works for next week. And, I'll move things around. I'm flexible. I really want to talk to you.
Like that.
It's pretty cool.
Simple enough.
Yeah. What you can do next is you could say, like, if after 3 days that person didn't reply, then you can probably start them on another campaign or, just
resume them on.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Actually, yes, you can effectively resume the previous campaign.
Yeah. So I'm thinking we kind of got a bit technical here, which I like that we said this Zap, couple options, this action. And it's all coming down to speaking to our leads a little bit differently depending on what we know about them, which is so great. I have like one like sales hack that I found from a competitor actually this week that I think is really clever. I'll probably end with it unless you had more before we sort of.
I got one last thing, but go for it.
Yeah, hit me. Okay, so this is for the inbound people. When somebody goes to your website, you're trying to collect their email address at some point. Well, I noticed there was a competitor that was like, hey, watch this video to see how this works. And I clicked the link and it didn't open up like a YouTube embedded video. It wasn't embedded at all. It brought me to a Loom website, like loom.com/video link. And I was like, why would they? And then if you're a registered Loom user,
you get your
grabs your email address and it gives it to, I'm like, wow, that is clever.
But you already have the email address technically. If you actually just, what you could do, well,
no,
I would know
I'm
that
saying
you
this is for just visitors. This is just random visitors.
Nice. That's nice.
So nudge campaign, it's like watched video, didn't do something, start, hey, what'd you think? Is there anything I can clarify for you?
That's really good.
It's like, oh, okay, that's clever. I'm done. That's it for me.
Cool. The last thing I just wanted to add is that instead of resuming the previous campaign, if you don't have any answer on the nudge campaign, you could simply have a wait like 3 days. And if people still didn't reply, then just send a Slack touch to your team channel saying like, hey, you need to call this person to nudge them. And so don't be shy. Have your, people just receive like notification that says, let's go and call this person now.
I like it. I would maybe move it up to like if a day goes by. I'm a bit more aggressive with phones lately. If you tell me that you're interested in some shape or form.
Okay.
Yeah. There was a follow-up I sent after a year trying to collect a payment from a client. 1 year went by. 1 year. And I'm like, should I keep trying to follow up? I don't even know if this person still works at the company. They didn't, but I followed up a year later And the new hire in their place said, "Oh yeah, I've got this on my things to do. Send me your bank detail." And they paid. And I was like,
nice.
Bless the follow-ups. It was amazing. So that's it. Okay, so wrapping it up, you don't have to talk to every prospect the same. Instead, you can automate this nudge campaign. Just listen for the right trigger and put them on a different campaign with the help of Zapier and your email tool like QuickMail. I think that's basically wrapping it up. You can do it for inbound and exclusive outbound, but it's really cool, and hopefully it helps.
Rock and roll. I think you summarized it pretty well.
Radical. Okay, cool. So yeah, with that, if you want more goods like this, you should go to course.quickmail.io and find out what we've been adding to our cold email outreach masterclass. I think you'll be impressed.
Right. We got some stuff, some stuff in your sleeves. We may talk about it at some point on the cast.
Yeah. All right, Jeremy. Thanks. Great cast.
Thanks, Jack. Great cast. Talk to you later.